Why are you Christians so divided? You know, I have had that question so many times. I remember doing an evangelistic event a short while ago in a church, and it was a wonderful event. We had lots of people had brought friends along, and evening was going really well. And then after I finished speaking, came to the Q&A. And the first person to sort of leap up and almost run to the microphone was an atheist man. I knew he was an atheist because we'd met and chatted briefly before the event. And he got to the microphone and he asked this question. He said, Andy, that was a very slick marketing presentation, he said, for Christianity. He said, but my question for you is which brand of Christianity are you marketing to us this evening? Because there are Baptists and Catholics and Mennonites and Pentecostals and Anglicans, and he listed many others. He said, which brand of Christianity are you representing this evening? And although it was a cynical question, there was a huge degree of truth behind it. Because, of course, lying behind that question is, in the eyes of many people who are not Christians, Christians are utterly disunited. And sadly, many Christians seem to spend far more time insulting or criticizing or tearing apart brothers or sisters in other denominations than actually explaining the gospel and the message of Jesus to people who are not following him. So I began by saying to that man, I said, look, if any Christians have behaved and spoken of each other in such a way that has given you that impression, then the first thing I can do is apologize, because it's clearly kept you from taking a look at Jesus. But I said, it's interesting that you asked that question as an atheist, I said, because one of my favourite writers was in fact an atheist for 30 years of his life before he had a dramatic conversion experience and became a Christian. His name was C.S. Lewis, very famous writer and thinker and philosopher. And what's interesting, I said to him, I said, one of the first books that Lewis wrote as a Christian, in fact, that helped make his name as a Christian writer, was a book called Mere Christianity. And the reason C.S. Lewis picked that title, Mere Christianity, was he wanted, he said in his book, to argue for and present the common elements of Christianity, the mere Christianity that is actually in common with every Christian denomination, both around the world today and throughout history. Because although Christians have sometimes given the bad impression of unity, actually there is far more unites us than divides us. Christians are agreed on, who God is, his character, how he's worked through history, how he's created the world, how he's revealed himself through his word, the scripture, and particularly how he's revealed himself through coming into space and time in history, the person of Jesus going to the cross, dying for our brokenness and our sin and our rebellion, and rising from the grave 3 days later. That unites Christians. And furthermore, said C.S. Lewis in Mere Christianity, all of those things that I've just described to you, there are powerful arguments commending them. There is incredibly powerful historical evidence, for example, for the resurrection of Jesus. We've looked at that in other short answers videos. And so I looked at that atheist gentleman and I said, my challenge to you is to take a good hard look at mere Christianity, to take a good hard look at Jesus of Nazareth, decide whether his claims are true. Don't get distracted by some of the nonsense that sadly Christians have sometimes got involved in. And if those claims of Jesus stand up, then you need to decide what to do about them. And if you're going to follow him, and follow him authentically and follow him genuinely, then make sure you take seriously Jesus' warnings and about unity and its importance, and make sure that you love fellow Christians even despite their differences. Fun thing was, actually, as that man walked out of the church that evening, there on the church bookstall was a copy of Mere Christianity that I talked to the bookstall manager afterwards, who said she didn't know how it got there. They hadn't ordered it. It sort of turned up in a box by mistake, and his sister bought it for him, and he went home and read it. Who knows how that story ends, but I hope it ends with him taking a look at Jesus and deciding what he was going to do with that central claim of Mere Christianity.